Okay, welcome, folks. Tonight is October 13th, 2010. This is a public hearing for the City of Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals. Because it's a public hearing, everybody has a right to address the board. If anybody is addressing the board, we just ask that you state your name and address and sign in the sign-in sheet before speaking so we don't have to interrupt you. They're a relatively short agenda tonight, and we're going to start with the first matter is ZB 2009-000045, a special permit, telecommunications. This is Clear Wireless LLC. The property address is 403 Andover Street, and they request an installation of telecommunications systems, and my understanding is they're withdrawing their request, so they're withdrawing this request for special permit. So before we take a vote on that, is anybody here like to address the board regarding this petition on 403 Andover Street? So hearing none, we will take the vote to allow them to withdraw the petition.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to withdraw the petition.
Second the motion.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Gary?
Approve.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve.
Mr. Bienvenu?
Okay, so the matter at 403 Andover Street, the applicant Clear Wireless is now withdrawn. The next matter is ZB 2010-000043, special permit telecommunications, Clear Wireless LLC. The address is 746 Bridge Street to install 3 panel antennas, 2 backhaul dishes inside an existing steeple, which will be partially replaced and replicated pursuant to section 7.6 of the zoning code. Anybody here for Clear Wireless LLC? Okay, another last call for Clear Wireless LLC. Is anybody here representing Clear Wireless LLC for 746 Bridge Street? Okay, and hearing none, I think what we should do is probably just continue that matter. Vote to
Yeah,
continue.
my understanding is they knew that it was continued tonight, but yeah, it might be appropriate to do
Rather
so.
than
There's
reapply.
nobody here to speak for or against it, so maybe
Okay,
do that. The letter that Clear Wireless submitted to withdraw was specifically dealing with Andover Street.
403 Andover Street, okay.
Yeah, I suspect if they wanted both.
So we'll open up to the board for discussion. My suggestion would be that we continue this till the next meeting. There's nobody here from Clear Wireless, but also nobody's here wishing to speak for or against it, so rather than have them go through the process of reapplying, we could just put it on for the next meeting and see what happens.
Which is Monday, October the 25th, Mr. Chairman, less than 2 weeks. So just want to make sure the petition is notified. That'd be great.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, so we need a motion to continue,
Make a motion to continue to October the 25th, 2010.
Second the motion.
and roll call, Aaron, please.
Mr. Belanger?
Continue.
Mr. Gary?
Continue.
Mr. Perrin?
Continue.
Mr. Bienvenu? Mr. Bailey?
Continue.
Okay, the matter's been continued to the next meeting, which is October
25th.
25th. There'll be no further notifications. Anybody wishing to address the board and speaking in favor or opposed to that action is welcome to come here and voice their objection or support. For new business, the first one is ZB 2010-000037, request for a variance, Stephen DeRosa, 142 First Street, to convert an existing single-family into a two-family dwelling without meeting the lot requirements, with curb cuts that exceed the maximum length for the driveway pursuant to 12.2 and 6.1.10 in the zoning code. Anybody here representing 142 First Street? Welcome, sir. Yes. Okay, so Mr. Bienvenu is going to recuse himself, guys, so that leaves you with 4 board members. As you may be aware, you're required to have all 4 votes for it to pass, and if not, if one objects, then the motion fails, so your request fails. So you have a choice to either go forward with just the 4, or you can request a continuance to the next hearing where you'll have a full quorum. And if you need a couple of minutes, guys, just don't, take your time. How would you like to proceed? Okay. So were you given any information from the engineer's office regarding the issues the engineer's office had? Because this may impact, out of fairness, we'll let you read these comments from the engineer before you decide if you want to go forward tonight. Okay.
Two spaces of parking on the street, or having some off-street, having some on-street parking to supplement the required parking for this submittal.
Okay, we'll get into the issue. I just wanted to make sure you understand that there's been some comments from the engineers and you had a chance to look at that.
Yes, the planning department forwarded those comments along to me.
Great, okay. So why don't we start from the beginning? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your project and,
Okay.
and why you're asking for relief?
The project, first, my name is Paul Borbo. I'm the architect, PHB Architects in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I'm here representing Mr. Stephen DeRosa, who owns the property currently. The property is located at 142 First Street. It's currently a single family. My understanding is it came before this board several years ago with the request to make it a two-family, but for whatever reasons, the request was denied 2 years ago. We're back before this board today to try and turn this back into a two-family if we can. And I think we're a little bit more sensitive to the issues that exist on the site, and we're trying to be a little bit more sensitive to those issues in the way that we presented our proposal. I had a chance to review the planning department's comments regarding our proposal, and one of them was a concern about the deck itself that we're proposing along the front of the building that would provide access around the building to the second means of egress for the units. The concern was that it was too narrow, and in fact, I've actually modified our plan a little bit to show that what we're going to be doing is removing a portion of the roof that exists on the front of the building. It's simply an overhang for the front entrance, and currently there's a column that blocks a portion of the deck and the access around the building. So by eliminating that portion of the roof and maintaining that portion of the roof over the entrance as a portico, we can eliminate that column, which would give us a full 4 feet of width to walk around the building. And I think obviously give it a better look as well from the exterior, because it appears that there might have been some attempt at an earlier time to make some addition on the second floor, and it was never attempted beyond that point. Our proposal, again, this location has a severe grade change from the back of the property to the front of First Street, and there are obviously a variety or a various amount of properties along First Street that have the same problem. So retaining walls have been introduced to allow grading of the area and access to the building. What we're proposing to do is to eliminate the stair that currently runs from the existing front entrance portico to First Street and create a deck that wraps around the building that engages both entrances and egresses so that we can eliminate that stair, and a stair would then be incorporated into the landscaped area between the parking and the main house. I have revised the plan slightly, and I wanted to present that to the board if I could this evening. It's essentially the same plan that you have right now, but it just shows the elimination of the column and the access around the building. If I could, I would like to present that to the board.
Sure. It's the existing condition now, right?
Also, to follow up on some of the initial comments from Planning Department, one of the first concerns was that we had not addressed or had presented the ZBA with a zoning narrative, and I've since gone back to the zoning code and addressed that, and I did email that this afternoon. I don't know that you've received a copy of that zoning narrative, but I have several copies here if you would like.
You know, it appears from what I'm looking at, I'm recalling this from from a couple of years ago somewhat, but the issue was mainly related to the parking, right?
I'm not sure what the issues were. I know that there was some sewer piping that had been uncovered,
Right.
and somebody had come to the site from the city and had seen that there was some excavation being done, and that the excavation of that pipe was too close to the grade. It wasn't 4 feet below grade.
Mhm.
And that's when all of this came to the attention of the building department, I believe.
Have you seen the findings of fact from a few years ago?
No, I have not.
Okay, why don't I just give you a copy of this so you can, maybe, I mean, I guess if you could address some of these issues, which is the reason for its denial last time, and, you know, you can bring it back to the podium if you'd like.
I believe all these concerns in this finding of fact have been addressed in our proposal. What we have done is we provided a way of egressing the building that ties in the 2 exits and entrances to the building vis-a-vis this wraparound deck. We've eliminated the stair that currently exists on the front to 142 to First Street, and have located that stair internal to the property within the landscape of the property, so that the issues regarding egress would not be affected by a fence being installed by any of the abutters. It's internal to the property, and it's actually in the middle of the property. We also understand that the building is a single family, so we're here, the board, this evening to get a variance to make it a two-family. There's no issue there from our perspective. And I believe that we've had a site plan done by Bradford Engineering that shows and indicates that we can make 4 parking spaces work on the site. What it would require us to do, obviously, is to increase the curb cut. Some of the comments from the planning board, or suggestion from the planning board, was perhaps to have only 2 parking spaces on site and utilize the off-street parking that exists in this area, which is actually quite extensive, to supplement the required parking for the two-family use. And my understanding in this neighborhood is that a majority of the properties are two-family in nature. So this would not be going against what already exists in the current neighborhood, and I don't think would be detrimental to the neighborhood.
Okay, and I think the curb cut is I'd rather not see that. I'd rather see the off-street parking than the curb cut. Now, Aaron, there's no issue going from for a use variance from a 1 to a 2 in that zone, because it's zoned for it, right?
That's correct. You're right. Two families are a by right use. It's just a matter of the dimensional elements.
Right. And it had been used as a two-family for several years?
My understanding is it has been, but it was never a legal two-family.
It was being used unlawfully as or illegally as a two-family?
Correct.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
That's all the information that I have this evening, including this revised plan to further clarify the proposal. It doesn't really vary very much from what we gave you initially, other than we've eliminated that column and addressed the issue regarding the egress along the deck or in the front of the house.
Okay. And Aaron, do you have any comments from the planning department about this project? Did they have a chance to look at it, or?
The planning board or
The planning department.
just myself and Joe and some folks from the inspectional service department, building commissioner, got to sit down and review some of these elements. And outside of what the petitioner already addressed in terms of the parking, the access, one of the concerns was about having safe egress and access to the building. Looks like he's addressed it with by extending the front deck out a little bit. That will provide, they need 36 inches in essence to count as an egress or entrance. The only other thing I did want to highlight on the comments that we provided was that the proposal as it stands now there's 4 elements, 4 variances that would need to be approved. That includes the minimum lot area per dwelling unit, and it's essentially 4,000 square feet of lot area per dwelling unit in the zoning district. That's the minimum standard. Minimum frontage for a two-family is 65 feet. This one has 62. The side yard setback minimums in the district is 10 on one side, with the sum of each side yard is 25. The porch, as it's designed, kicks into the side yard because it kind of loops out a little bit. And then the curb cut has been discussed. So those 4 things would.
So when it says when I'm looking at the petition to convert the existing single-family to a 2 dwelling without meeting the lot area requirements, those lot area requirements are 4 specific requirements.
Yeah, the lot area per dwelling unit and the side yard and the frontage would all fall under that same dimensional standard, and it's section 5.1 in the zoning code. The curb cut is a separate section. It's 6.110, I believe. So those are,
And they could do it without the curb cut. Is that?
Well, they wouldn't be able to provide the required number of parking spaces off-site. They would need, they by the zoning code, need to provide 4. It's 2 spaces per dwelling unit. If they don't open up the curb cut and provide 2 spaces, they would then need a variance for the number of parking spaces, but not the curb cut.
Okay, well, I'd like to reflect on the curb cut just for 1 second. Now, I went by the property today, and I don't know if this board will approve it, but if the curb cut were allowed, I'm not so sure those additional 2 spaces, I think those 2 vehicles would be blocking the sidewalk, because that retaining wall is there now, and it looks better aesthetically, but that would bump the cars onto the sidewalk, so I'm not even so sure that's an option.
That's a very good point. Without the extra space for the deck in the front, it was right at 18 feet, which is the minimum for parking spaces. So if it comes out 2 feet, I don't know if that affects them.
I'm pretty 99% sure that those cars would obstruct out to the sidewalk. I guarantee it.
Yeah, and from the planning perspective, from the planning department, we typically, always don't like to see cars in the way of sidewalks.
No,
for a number of reasons.
I hear you loud and clear.
It
on
would
that
definitely be in the sidewalk. It might even be near the street, right? Isn't
one.
that kind of?
The rear end might be on the street, Mr. Chairman. All due respect.
Okay, so anybody here wishing to speak in favor of this petition, in favor? Okay, and hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Is anybody here wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition to this petition? Okay, and hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed, so we'll open up to the board for deliberation and any questions that we have for the petitioner. But one question I have just for Aaron quickly, if it couldn't be approved tonight then without the variance for parking, and they would have to advertise for that, right? I mean, that's not something we can,
You're probably right. They would need to re-advertise for the parking variance, because it's a different type of variance. It's not a dimensional issue. It's
right, if there was another dimensional issue, it's been advertised as dimensional issues, but it's,
Right.
separate and unique from that, so it looks like that's, an issue either way. So why don't we get some input from the board and then maybe take it from there? Bill, do you have any comments or questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I guess, to Aaron to start. Aaron, on, excuse me, on the application, it mentions minimum lot size, 6,000 square feet, existing lot, 5643. Now, I think you touched on this on your narrative that you had sent out. It says 4,000 per dwelling unit.
I'm sorry, I didn't
I'm
hear it
sorry.
because the siren.
It says 4,000 per dwelling unit. So is it, they need 8?
They need, for 2 units, they need 8,000. For a single family, it's slightly
Right.
different. It's a
Right.
6,000,
So they're short approximately 2,400
yes.
square feet, okay. And does the applicant understand that? I mean, you had 6 in there, so you agree with the 8? Okay. Okay. The second thing I have is, Aaron, you provided an overview on October 7th that you had sent out to us, the 2-page. And then tonight, we received this zoning narrative. Is this to address some of the points you had mentioned on the 7th, what we get tonight?
Yeah, the zoning narrative from the petitioners, I believe, is intended to address those comments.
That's correct.
Okay. Which you had mentioned before. You had seen this from the,
I just saw that today,
okay,
or sent to me yesterday, perhaps. Yeah, Joe sent it to me yesterday.
okay. So Aaron, is there anything that, I guess basically my question is everything covered that was on this narrative you put together and then what was created tonight? Have you addressed the issues? I mean, I've read through them. I just want to make sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as far as the original plan is concerned, I mean, the update, I would want to take some look, another look at that because it may change the parking layout. But as far as the original submittal, that would cover everything. There was
Okay,
also-
so is the parking the major point that,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say it's not
that's
addressed,
a major point. The other element I should just point to quickly, that I hope was on that memo, should have been, is that if 2 additional parking spaces are to be constructed, they would need to go seek a driveway permit from the city engineer. And that's where some a discussion on stormwater impacts would come in. And I think, I'm not sure 100% if you got the comments from the city engineer, but they would, typically that they're looking for no new stormwater runoff. So there need to be some way to store the stormwater on site for the area that's going to be paved. And then also they're typically looking for a slight improvement above and beyond, no new stormwater runoff. So that would be something that would need to be addressed later on at some point with the city engineer.
May I make a comment on that?
Sure.
As it relates to impervious material, we could provide off-street parking for 4 parking spaces and use a pervious paver on site to address the impervious material issue on site by the additional parking. If that's if that truly is an issue, we could simply use a pervious paver in that area, and that would nullify that impervious surface material. So in effect, it would negate any additional runoff that might be going to the storm drains, because what's going into the storm drains now is, we have no control over. It's going in there, but we're not going to create a worse situation. We're actually going to make it a better situation.
Right, I think that might be, a very good suggestion, but we're still stuck with the issue of the parking variance, right? I mean, wouldn't you have to,
We need a curb cut variance, is what we would need.
right, but isn't that still going to lead us up to where the cars, if they're parked there, are going to be sticking out into the street?
No, I'm sorry. The retaining walls, and again, if you look at the existing condition photos that I submitted earlier, that retaining wall is built out away from the building approximately 3 feet. And again, that retaining wall can be moved slightly, but I don't believe that it has to, because the deck, if you look at the elevations that I provided, that deck is actually elevated about 10 feet off the parking surface, so the nose of the cars would be parked underneath that deck, which would allow the cars to pull in ahead of the sidewalk, so the bumpers of those cars would not be on the sidewalk. They'd be ahead of the sidewalk.
Well, if that were the case, I wouldn't have a problem with that, but it's, are you positive of that? Because looking at
That's
the
what our
site.
site plan should show. The site plan that our Bradford Engineering
Oh, I see
submitted.
this.
So you're saying as the wall in its current condition could fit 2 more cars and not protrude onto the sidewalk? Is that what
That's
you're saying?
correct.
From my calculation, sir, I don't recall that, with all due respect.
It doesn't look like it when you're at the site.
If you look at Bradford Engineering site plan, they actually measured the face of that retaining wall to the property line. And they were able to show or indicate that they had at least 18 feet to make the parking spaces work.
Well, here, if I'm looking at it right, 20.9 feet, and then at 1.17.4, right? If I'm looking at the Bradford Engineering plan?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going right up against the existing retaining wall.
That's correct. And if the existing retaining wall were a impedance to the location of the parking, it's simply a matter of moving that retaining wall closer to the building. That entire foundation has been excavated and exposed, and I'm not certain, to tell you the truth, that retaining wall as it currently exists is even going to be structurally secure over a long period of time. So the intention of the applicant obviously would be to repair that retaining wall or replace it completely with something that was more adequate structurally, that could retain the footings and the foundation of that existing building. I believe the previous applicant had excavated and exposed the foundation and installed this retaining wall as a result of that.
Right, I remember that being, at least it was an issue for me a couple of years ago, that retaining wall and its condition and the parking. I still don't, I mean, I see what the engineer put down and have to assume that he had it right, but when you go out there, it does not look like you can fit 2 cars against that wall without the cars going onto the sidewalk.
No, I don't see it either, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I hate to second-guess plans. I know it's in front of me, but I don't see it. I
Right.
really don't.
And you have, the proposed 18 by 36 parking 4 spaces. If that is in contemplation of moving the wall back, maybe, but
No, it isn't. And
It's-
again, that was a surveyed plan done by Bradford
no,
Engineering.
that's confusing because I see that and it's stamped and appears to be 100% legitimate. It just,
Yeah,
when you go out there, it looks like that even a small car would be going onto the sidewalk. I'm not sure, the sidewalk's where it should be, maybe that's the case, but it's, I would assume that it is. So where we see the sketch here, that's just the overhang of the porch that cars can drive under,
That's
right?
correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead,
so
Bill.
referring to the Bradford Engineering, so this is dated 9/13/2010, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
No.
So is this, what has changed? I still see the applicant that was here 2 years ago. I see his name down here.
I'm not sure.
Well, it says prepared for, and it has the guy that was here 2 years ago.
It was prepared for Stephen DeRosa, not for him.
Well, that's Stephen DeRosa's name's not on there.
Yeah.
That's why I was going to ask. Did
That's
Bradford Engineering do it 2 years ago?
I really don't know if they did it 2 years ago.
Okay, well, because my question was going to be, Mr. DeRosa's name isn't on here. It's the gentleman that was here 2 years ago. And I was just wondering, was it the same firm that did the same drawings, and now they're coming back, and did they do some modifications?
I couldn't answer that question. I'm not certain.
But, I mean, you saw this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see the name, though. I never even looked at the name.
Okay, well, I'm just wondering why the previous owner, I guess, is on here.
I mean, all I can assume is that he perhaps did the plan for the previous owner, but I don't know that for a
Okay.
fact.
All right. So, Mr. Chairman, on the, you mentioned about the city engineers, Lisa DeMayo's write-up. Has everything been addressed there? This gentleman saw it, correct?
I'm
You read
sorry?
through Mr. Mayo's write-up, right? City engineer?
I've not seen that.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought this is what we were talking about earlier.
Yes, you did ask him, Mr. Chairman. I thought the
He
petitioner
might,
said...
you didn't address it, so I think he thought I was talking about something
I
else, so.
think he may have thought you were talking about my comments.
That-
Okay.
That's exactly what I thought
Okay.
you were talking about.
So why don't you just take a second? This is just from the city engineer, Lisa DeMayo, and basically she's saying the previous owner of the property had done some work that was not permitted. The owner was informed and instructed to correct, which he didn't do, before selling the property, which now Mr. DeRosa owns. The work involved excavating to create parking, and that left the home's sewer connection without sufficient cover. So that's, a condition that Mr. DeRosa assumed
Correct.
when he bought it. The applicant did not apply for a variance for a curb cut width, allows only 15 feet. And if you do move the retaining wall, it's got to be stamped by a P, but I'm sure you know that.
Yes.
And the 2% grade shown on the plan at the driveway will send additional runoff, but you've addressed that with your proposal for, doing the pavers or whatever you said that you could do there. So a pervious surface would be required, so.
Correct.
I guess on most of it you've addressed, but how would you address the issue with the home sewer connection without sufficient cover?
That would have to be obviously redone. My understanding is that the inlet to the sewer on the street is a certain elevation. And in order for you to get sufficient cover and maintain the parking, you would have to do one of two things. You'd have to, one, raise the parking to get sufficient cover, or two, reduce the entrance elevation of the sewer connection out to the street in order to get sufficient cover underneath the parking. And not knowing the details of what exists out in the street, I can't tell you what needs to be done.
Right, so you might get into this, or the owner might get into this and realize that, it's a much larger job than you anticipated.
That's correct.
So is that something you want to, sit on or go over and maybe address some of these issues, and we'll continue it if the board votes to do that when we have a little more information? I'd like to go back out there and actually measure from that, because I believe what you're saying and I believe the plan. So I don't know how I perceived that it was almost impossible to park even a small car there without it hitting the.
Unfortunately, the two photographs that I have here don't really show you where the sidewalk is. You see the vehicles there, but you can't see the relationship of the sidewalk to the vehicles, so I have no way of
but I've been out to the site. I mean, I
Thrown
want to
at you.
recheck that in my own
Yeah.
mind. I might have just assumed that there's not enough room when there really was. I mean, I
Right.
can just pull my car in there and see if it sticks out.
I can tell you that I received a phone call from the engineer, and he was concerned about that as well. And after a survey crew went out and determined what the distance was, he was satisfied that he could meet the parking requirement.
Right. I'd be more concerned about actually pulling a car in there
Yeah.
and touching it and seeing if it's, because that would tell me that something's wrong. Because
Yeah.
if I couldn't park there, then, I could see it for myself. And I don't know why I didn't do that. I just assumed there was no parking there, but, or it wasn't gonna be enough. But I'm looking at your plan, and I'm looking at the stamp plan and the numbers, and it appears to make sense, but seeing it, it doesn't make sense to me. So, and if you have anything to say, so you can speak. Sure, go ahead. Just state your name and address for the record, and
My name is Stephen DeRosa. I live at 6 Pepper Hill Drive in Winchester. I have no problems waiting until your next meeting, so you can take your car. I'd like this board to be happy with whatever we do in the town, the city. We are making a presence in the city, and just like to see you guys happy, so we'll continue this if you don't mind.
no, that's, if the board votes for that, but why don't we see if we can get all the issues out for them, that the board members may have, so at least you can go and do the homework, and, to me, it's kind of a dilapidated property, and I know that, you've done work in the city before, I know you can change that, so if there's something that can be done, that doesn't have a negative impact on the neighborhood or the abutters, that it's, I think we can do an improvement to this property, but I think we need to have the proper applications as well. If we need a variance for the parking, that may need to be advertised. So I don't know if that's going to give you enough time for the next meeting. You might want it on for the meeting after, right?
I would like to also say, when you do go there, we have put a new roof on. We've already sided the home, replaced windows. But right now, there's a temporary fence, and it doesn't look very good until we get this variance. We're planning on making some changes, so we've got a temporary fence up there. I don't want you thinking that's,
Yeah.
a permanent fence for us, so.
Have you spoken to any of the abutters? I know that we did have some opposition a few years ago. People were concerned. Your direct abutters?
I've talked with, looking at my property to the left, and he had no problems with what we were doing. Seems like he had no problems with what we were doing. He was happy that we were fixing up the property.
Somebody's going to do something, okay. So, anybody starting with Bill, any other issues you'd like them to look into before they come back, if we do vote to continue it?
I do. Excuse me. Excuse me. I do.
So, did that take place August 17th?
Yes. Yes. This is the attorney that actually performed the
Okay.
closing for me.
Hello, Artie Cohen.
So he may be able to answer your questions more directly, Bill.
Tanya Ellis was the,
Prior owner. It was the property, the original owner that applied a couple years ago was foreclosed on by the bank. Tanya Ellis purchased it from the bank, and Mr. DeRosa purchased it from Tanya Ellis.
do you know when Tanya Ellis purchased?
Probably around March or April, I believe. Here's the deed. It was Fannie Mae, March 2nd, of 2010. The deed is dated March 2nd of 2010. To Mr. DeRosa, yes.
Ms. Ellis work, Mr. and Mrs. Ellis still living there?
No. Actually, I think,
Treated as investment property?
yes, it is.
Do you know how many families are still in there?
There's only one family, it's just, what, the second floor?
Second floor.
Second floor is occupied, the first floor is vacant until such time as the board decides. Because it's actually a quite large property, there's a lot of room, so having one family in there doesn't seem to make much sense.
So, Mr. Chairman, when you mentioned about the Fannie
It doesn't, it appears as though most of that was dealt with. You recall, the prior owner was doing a lot of things without the proper permits or authority, and I think that's kind of what we had some big issues with. I know I had an issue with the parking, but it seems like there were bigger issues at the time, so that wasn't even really considered in here. You know, there was a you know, kind of a storied history with the obtaining the building permits and the applications and everything with the property. And, you know, from the best I can see, that Mr. DeRosa's he's an investor. He comes in and buys these properties and renovates them and provides a place for people to live, obviously for a profit. But I think our experience with the applicant is that he's done a fairly decent job with almost everything that's been in front of us. This property, when you look at it, it appears to be, you know, bad and getting worse. So it is large. I think when we did the walkthrough, what we could last time, it clearly was being used as a two-family, just illegally. So I think the request to make it a legal two-family is reasonable, but I think that it's, you know, an issue with us to put enough conditions on this so we ensure that the property is going to actually be better for the neighborhood post-approvals than it is right now. At least that's my opinion.
So does inspectional services still need to go through there as part of this conversion? And the fire department and all the other departments? Is that required, Aaron?
Yeah, they would need to seek a building permit with the building department. They need
Yep.
to get the fire safety, plumbing permits, all the.
And I only ask this because of the supposed history that we know about this property, the things that went on, and I know Commissioner Camacho was here. He, I think, had a lot of insight on that too.
We had fire, plumbing, and electrical come out and sign off for the tenants for the upstairs.
Yep, okay. Just one last question, if I can. The property, I think it's 140. Is this Michael Donahue? Is he the gentleman that lives behind? If you're facing your property, did you mention the gentleman to the left?
Yes.
The house that's set
Not
back?
Not the house set back, the one,
Okay.
the brown house right beside.
Yeah. What about the house that sets back there? Is that Michael Donahue?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Okay. If memory serves me right, what's the access for that property for them getting back there? Where do they park? How do they get to their property? 'Cause-
Isn't there a walkway? I think there's a walkway in between, isn't there not? Between
Would
the
that
two
show that on the
houses?
plan?
No, not for the adjacent.
Do you remember where it was? Wait, is there a?
I don't know where it is.
No, I think there was questions around
Mhm.
how that was set up also. So Aaron, do you know anything about that?
Well, I have an aerial that might shed some light on it. It's basically I can hand it over to you, but there's 2 parking spaces just west of the subject properties, where then the parking is right off the right-of-way. The
These guys out?
property owner has to walk up the pathway to the house all the way in the back. I can hand it to you if you like.
All right. That's what you provided to us, right? The aerial view you're talking about?
I think it's a stairway.
Yeah.
You should probably talk to them.
No, I just want to make sure that there's no considerations. If we're going to go to a two-family on this,
Yeah.
are there any other conditions that have to be met? Is there any easements? It seems to me there was a story behind a story on that property that was, well, I hate to say it like that, but just because of how it's situated back there. And I think this even came up when we were talking about the parking at 142. And then, what was the egress, how were things set up? Aaron, is that something that you could look into at least? I mean, if we're going to have a continuance, I'd like to have a little bit more information on that, just to,
Yes.
so we don't have another problem down the road.
Yeah, we can look into that, yeah.
All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. And Gary?
Just in reference to the the site plan itself, you referred earlier about moving that retaining wall forward to the property. What's the positive value to that as it relates to parking?
It gives us more room for parking off-street. It will make it deeper. According to, again, Bradford Engineering's plans, I didn't produce the plan, but I can only go by what I see.
Okay.
They've got a little over 18 feet. Moving that wall forward to the building will increase that depth even more, give them perhaps a little bit more maneuvering area to back out of the space and pull it a little further away from the sidewalk. That might be the positive benefit of
Yeah,
it.
I would agree with that if it all came into play
Yeah.
a little more accurately than what we're looking at.
I think, as I said, that retaining wall is a suspect at best. And I don't believe that it would pass muster of any structural engineer at this point. So we're probably going to have to remove it and redo it. So I just don't think it's going to stand the test of time.
That was another question related to that wall. Is that part of your plan would be to make that new and graded off as well?
Part of our plan would be to make the building structurally sound.
Right.
And if it means that we have to redo that retaining wall in order to do so, then we'll do so.
I just have one other question related to Lisa DeMayo's points regarding the sewer connection and sufficient coverage. In all fairness, I think at this point, you did state to us you were unaware of that.
Pardon me?
You were unaware of this tonight?
No, this is the first time I've seen this document.
Okay. Which in all fairness to the petitioner, as stated by the chairman, you've been due diligent in other projects, and I'd have concerns that you would get into this and, you'd be at a standoff, so to speak, of where you would have to go permitting wise and drainage and the like. So I think that's something that would benefit all parties to have more clarification on where we're heading with that piece.
I was actually in the engineering department when we first put the application together, and the gentleman that was in the department at the time, when he looked at the application, said, "Oh, do you know what happened with that property?" And I says, "No," and he gave me a little bit of history, and part of the history was this sewer pipe. So I was aware of it through that conversation, but never saw this document.
Yeah, just in fairness, Mr. Chairman, to the petitioner, just to clarify that, because it would be my thought process that you'd be opening up a can of worms that you might not be ready to be involved with the sewage and so forth. So I think they might want to be beneficial to yourself to look at that. But I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Vesna?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These plans seriously different from the one in 2008, where I too joined the chairman at the time, voting to deny this petition and giving all those finding of fact and denying it. The plan for tonight actually, is much different and well prepared and presented by you, and you have like Mr. Chairman indicated, you have a developer who really have a good track record coming before this board and done so. I noticed that you're short of quite a bit, 24,000 square feet, yet and the area is not the area that is a multi-family, two-family and multi nearby. I also noticed that parking problem is not just unique to you and other people as well. Those I not prepared to vote on it tonight, like Mr. Chairman indicated that somehow I want to believe the people who draw the plan that the parking that said proposes 18 by 36 and it could store 4 cars. I want to do the same, like Mr. Chairman, drive in and to see whether or not it's fit. My starting point is the curb cut and that really there. If that address if we get the chance to get it continue and do what the chairman said, drive in to see whether or not it fit, and then the other variant as far as the minimum lot and the frontage and stuff like that, I can live with that, because this certainly will go to improve the property, and having the developer have a good track record, I believe in that. So I'm prepared to vote along with my fellow board member tonight if there's a continue, and should, you know, the time giving for continue and we get there and the curb cut, the parking as said, then the next time around I'm prepared to vote for that project, for this project. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Vesna. And the only other comments I just want to make is, even if the car does fit in, I like the idea of removing that wall because it's ugly and it doesn't look like it's structurally sound. So if you're going to move it, you can probably move it back further and create more parking if you're going to dig it out anyway. And I'd be looking for the pervious surface as well in that. And then I think that we can make another, you know, a few more conditions to make the property fit in well with the neighborhood that I don't think there'd be any objection to. But what I'd recommend is that you stay in touch with the planning department as to what type of wall they'd be looking for. Aaron, you'd have some comments on that, right?
Well, we could certainly work with the petitioner, the design planner on staff, works often in development projects or, you know, public infrastructure projects, and choosing appropriate scale and styles or types of walls and retaining walls. So we could certainly work with the petitioner on that.
Right, it's an older neighborhood over there, something that would fit in and be structurally sound, and, you know, as same as for the pervious surface. And then, you know, just research what you need to do about the sewer line and anything with the engineering comments, and then just make sure that you don't need any further variances for parking or anything like that. And, you know, I'd be willing to keep an open mind as to, you know, how to vote on this project. But, you know, if everything's done, it's a far different I mean, the other gentleman has no involvement, right? The prior, no involvement whatsoever. I assume that, but
No,
I just wanted to clarify that.
not that I'm aware of.
Just that, and I think that was a lot of the history on this. Just we just had a bad feeling about it from the beginning. But we didn't, you know, in fairness to you folks, we didn't have plans like this in front of us. So, you know, we were looking to they were looking for just basically an approval to hodgepodge it together as a two-family, and that's not what this is, you know, kind of portraying. So I think if that's done, if the board votes to continue it, I think, you know, doing all those things, you have a fairly decent shot at it. But, so would you like to say anything?
I have just 2 minutes with my counselors.
Sure, take a couple minutes and talk, and then you can address us when you're done. Okay, and before you folks comment, I'm just gonna finish up with letting Mr.
Please.
Belanger. Okay, Corey?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Well, the petition has a few challenges here, and I agree with my colleagues in a lot of ways that, you know, Mr. DeRosa, the petitioner has done projects within the city, and I'm confident he'll do a good job. And we do have a few issues at hand here. But the bottom line is, with this property with myself, I mean, you're an investor, you're trying to fix it up, and we're here to help you. We want to see that building occupied and make it a little more practical for you. And I'm willing to give you the time you need, as long as you time you need. I'm willing to work with you. However, I mean, I need to see 4 off-street parking, gentlemen, parking spaces, to be totally honest with you. I just want to lay it on the table. I second-guess this plan that's in here in front of me tonight. I'm sorry, I don't accuse anybody here of intentionally trying to mislead this board whatsoever, but I was there today. The 2 spots to the right will most certainly will come out to the sidewalk, if not the street, as it is currently. I was there today, I know what I saw. So there is some inconsistencies here. If the wall is suspect, as you all say it is, then it's going to be taken down anyway and at least brought back 4 to 6 feet. In that case, there should be room for this 4 off-street that doesn't obstruct the sidewalk now, okay? I need 4 off-street that does not obstruct the sidewalk, and I'd be willing to support you. But I don't see that here in front of me tonight. So I'd like to see a new plan, some new advertisements, so the neighborhood will know. I mean, it's not fair to the neighborhood to let this go through here tonight. Those cars will definitely end up on the street, perhaps in their driveways, and it's not fair. But I mean, at the same time, we're to help you. So it's just, we need a new plan. If you can take down that wall like you say you're going to, bump it back, get 4 off-street, then I'm willing to support it. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Corey. And you folks had some comments or questions?
Just a minute, please.
Aaron, what's the first scheduled meeting in November, may I ask?
It's November 8th.
November 8th, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, talking with Mr. DeRosa, one of Mr. DeRosa's concerns in all the properties that he works on is he obviously wants them to look aesthetically pleasing when they're complete. There's another option that we could do, I'm not sure if that's me, there's another option that we could do if you would allow us 2 off-street parking spaces. We could essentially create those 2 off-street parking spaces where they currently exist to the left of that retaining wall. We could take this large retaining wall down and move it closer to the street in a smaller scale, probably more appropriate to the neighborhood, and then come in with backfill and not excavate, but fill all the way back to the existing foundation, so we create a green space in front of the building versus this, hardscape, which would be a wall of some type in front of the parking along the front of First Street. So that would go against what, I'm sorry, you had just mentioned regarding 4 off-street parkings, but looking at the aesthetics of it, perhaps it may be more palatable, I don't know.
But how would we address the parking issue, the off-street parking issue?
We'd have to
Variance.
We'd have to go through the variance and re-advertise it for the off-street parking that we're trying to, what we're doing is we want 2 off-street parking, but we're also utilizing 2 spaces off-street, on the street, to meet our requirement for the 2-family 4 parking spaces.
Okay. You have any comments?
Yeah, I wouldn't support it, Mr. Chairman. I mean, if you want it, I like the street there for additional parking, yes, but in the winter, a lot of snow on the ground, that street is narrowed down to almost 1 lane. And is it even legal? Do we have a parking ban during the winter? I don't know. It's an awful narrow street. I also made that observation today as well. Gentlemen, I'm pretty firm on the 4 off-street. I'm sorry. I don't know how I'm only 1 vote. I don't know how the other board members feel, but I need to see 4 off-street. That's me. Thank you.
Okay, so it's, a decent idea, but it doesn't look like it's something, I think the board might rather want to see the off-street parking and what you can do with that wall by pushing it back and then creating, as much green space as you had there. I mean, I know there's that planting area there. Not sure that, what use that is, but, I trust that you'd be able to present the plan that would be aesthetically pleasing to the neighborhood, even with those 4 cars where they are, or where they're proposed. So I guess the next meeting, how long would you folks need?
Not gonna have to advertise, are we?
If we don't have to re-advertise, we only need a week to turn it around.
Does it need advertising, Aaron?
No, not unless there's anything changing to the relief that's requested, so they wouldn't need to re-advertise.
Right, so as long as those 4 cars fit there.
Yeah. If they were to go down the path of requesting a parking variance for number of spaces, then that definitely would need to be re-advertised. But if they're going forward with what's been submitted, then
I've already gone through the schematic of making the wall, pushing the wall back. I know it'll work. I haven't designed it yet, but I know it'll work from an engineering standpoint. So I can make it work structurally. Now it's my job to make it look appealing.
Aesthetically, okay. So you wouldn't need a parking variance. You'd have the 4 cars.
That's correct, because we've had them 4 off-site parking
Okay.
spaces.
All right, so we could put them on for the next meeting, the
It's
October.
the 20, we have one on the 25th, Mr. Chairman, which is less than 2 weeks. It's 12 days from tonight.
Okay.
If that suffices, I'd be
That is fine. That's plenty of time.
okay, if you feel it's plenty of time, then I would be willing to support it. And
What I'd make sure, if I were you folks, I'd make sure you stay in touch with the planning department, that you have all the Ts crossed and Is dotted, because, we'd be really wanting to see definite plans, and if it doesn't make sense from what we see out there, it's gonna be another issue, so, do the best job you can aesthetically as well, and hopefully we have what we need at the next meeting, so, I need a motion.
Yep, I'll make a motion to continue to October the 25th, 2010.
Second.
Okay, need a roll call, please?
Mr. Gary,
Continue to October 25th.
Mr. Perrin,
Continue October 25th.
Mr. Noon,
Continue.
Mr. Bailey,
Continue to October 25th.
Mr. Belanger.
Continue.
Okay, gentlemen, this has been continued unanimously to October 25th. There'll be no further notice. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this petition or in opposition is welcome to come that night and speak to the board. So, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Mr. Chairman, did you want these finding of facts back?
Oh, yes, I do need those. I do need those. Thank you very much.
Okay, these are your photos?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the final petition for the evening is ZB 2010-00046, special permit request for signs, Valley Properties, Inc., 1235 Bridge Street, to illuminate internally the existing wall signs at Sal's Pizza and Blockbuster and a freestanding sign at Walgreens pursuant to 6.3.9D of the zoning code. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. I'm John Matthews. I'm the real estate representative of Valley Properties, the owner of the Sunrise Shopping Center on Bridge Street. The sign petitions that you have before you are part of the overall redevelopment of the shopping center, which I know has been before the board in the past. Sal's and Blockbuster are 2 tenants who were relocated from the old shopping center to a new building, and hence they need a special permit to illuminate the signs at the new building. They had internally illuminated signs in their old locations. All of the stores at Sunrise Shopping Center have had internally illuminated signs for some time. We think that internally illuminated signs allow better control of the light and the projection of light on signage. It's our standard in our shopping centers, like Stadium Plaza, for instance. And we're asking for the special permit this evening for those wall signs. Additionally, I'll address that we had 167 abutters notified, but it turns out that the parcel where Walgreens' freestanding sign was did not include all of the abutters for that end of the parcel. So I have ordered the abutters list for the additional abutters. My hope is that the board could act on the special permit for the wall signs for Sal's and Blockbuster tonight and continue the matter of the pylon till the additional abutters can be notified, because there have been 167 notices sent out already.
I think there's no problem with that, right? I mean, as long as it relates to sales and to, Yep. That's right. Okay, that's no problem, sir, we can do that.
Thank
So,
you.
for tonight, the sign for Walgreen is just being postponed
To November 8th.
to November 8th? So we're not, in any decision that we make, we want to make reference that does not include Walgreens.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think your packets have photographs of the buildings and the signs which have not been illuminated to date, and also the drawings of the signs. I should point out that the channel letter signs have LED light, not fluorescent, and that takes away that old concern that cities and towns had about flicker, or gee, the M is out, or the S is out, or whatever the sign might be. But LED technology it's energy efficient. It doesn't break down. And the Sal's ticket sign over their front door was designed architecturally to fit in that gable. It's much smaller than the sign that they were entitled to in terms of the frontage on the building, and that has fluorescent tubes in it, not neon, but fluorescent.
And those are similar to Sal's other signs?
I'm talking about, I mentioned the two Sal signs. Those are LED illuminated.
Yep.
Right. The Blockbuster sign is the cut ticket that they use. It's a box. It looks like someone took a theater ticket and cut it. And then on the rear, Blockbuster has a channel letter sign, LED illuminated, and that is what's across the street from it is the TD Bank parking lot. Those are the signs that I'm asking for approval on tonight.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
what I was saying is the Sal signs are similar to the Sal signs on his other stores throughout?
Right, and you've
Area.
got the pictures
Yep.
in the packet.
I'm familiar with his signs, yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody here wishes to speak in favor of this petition, in favor? And hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody here wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition, hearing no opposition, that portion of the public hearing is closed, and we'll open up to the board for consideration. Bill, any questions, comments, or concerns?
I guess just comment, if I could direct it to Mr. Matthews.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Matthews, did you see the letter we received from Rachel Kishner from the,
On the planning board approval?
no, this is, Aaron, would he have received this from Rachel?
I don't think, John, I don't think you did receive this, actually.
If I could just have you take a look at that for a second, please.
Rachel's the design planner, she's just in charge of the
I've
signs.
met her, yeah. Yes, this memo was written for the planning board previously?
It's very similar to the memo that was written to the planning board when the comprehensive plan was submitted to them, but it's not the exact same memo.
Okay. No, I have not seen this particular memo. Recommending the removal of the 24-inch high illuminated channel letters rear of Blockbuster. What would you like me to comment on?
Well, I guess, just reading through it as you have, I guess the last bullet there where she talks about the removal, which you were just referencing, 24-inch at the,
Right.
that reads Blockbuster on the rear side, and then removal of any other internally illuminated signage on this side as well. Do you accept that, or do you have any issues with that?
I disagree with the recommendation. Like I said, I looked at that very carefully. The building looks across at the TD Bank parcel, which is a commercially zoned parcel in Drake. It's not out of context with the scale of the building, and it's allowed under the zoning. And what we're seeking is a special permit to illuminate it.
Okay, well, Mr. Chairman, usually Rachel's here, but, she's making a recommendation. I didn't know if this gentleman even saw this, so
Did not, no.
is that something we want to take Rachel's recommendation, or?
Well, I think we can make our own decisions, and, it depends how you feel. I mean, I saw the comment, and it didn't make any sense to me until I saw, I drove by where I think it would be and compared it to, a very busy commercial area.
Sure.
I could see what she's talking about, but I'm not even sure she'd have a real strong issue with that as well. If she did, she'd probably would have been more, do you know anything about that, Aaron?
I think Rachel's general concern was if that illuminated sign was directly across or kitty corner close to residential properties. In the case where it's directly across from a commercial property that has a similar kind of scale and signage, I don't think it's as much of a problem. I think she's, based on the properties that are on the south side of Emerson Street, it's residential much closer to Bridge than it is across the street on Emerson. The TD Bank North goes much further up Emerson. So that the impact that she was concerned about in that comment isn't as pronounced as it would seem. I don't know if she actually had a chance to go up there and take a look at it, but Joe and I have been up there as well and noticed the same things that John had pointed out. And I think some of the board members have already, that given the fact that TD Bank North is right across the street, I think that her current concern is mitigated.
Right, that's my feeling, just looking at it, and I wasn't even sure how strongly Rachel felt about that, but I think I would have no problem where it's proposed and how the sign is at all in that area, having looked at it, but that's just my opinion.
Emerson, is Emerson on, is that in Lowell or is that direct at Emerson?
I think as you turn on Emerson, it's in Lowell,
Kinda
like
cut,
maybe
yeah.
50 feet up,
Okay.
up Emerson.
So, I mean, they would have been on the abutters list anyways.
We
for this.
notified Drake
Yep.
at abutters, yes.
Yeah, I don't see any opposition here, so.
Also, when you go up Bridge Street, if I may, into Drake, you've got a massive McDonald's sign there. The commercial district does continue all the way up to the light.
Sure.
And this is certainly not out of
Yep.
character.
I didn't know if you had seen it, that's why I just wanted to address it.
I had not. Thank you for
Yep.
bringing it to my
Okay.
attention.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank
Okay,
you.
and Gary, anything?
Yeah, the only questions I would have would be the hours of illumination.
When the stores are open,
Just-
they'll be turned off within an hour of the store closing.
For both stores,
For
correct?
both Blockbuster and for sales, yes.
Okay, so my only concern with that would be a condition of illumination of hours from open to closing. My only concerns, Mr. Chairman.
So for a condition, what you talk about 1 hour after closing, is that acceptable, sir?
Yes, it is.
What time would that be, sir, to be a little more specific, do you know?
I think that on the weekends, it sells is probably open to 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and on some seasons, Blockbuster may be open till midnight. But if you want to put no later than midnight for Blockbuster, we can deal with that.
Yeah, it's up to everybody, but I wouldn't have any problem saying 1 hour after closing. I don't know that we can regulate a store's hours anyway. Might be beyond the scope. I think we can regulate the sign, but we can't regulate the store hours.
Definitely not the store hours.
Right, so we can regulate the hours of the sign, so. Any other comments, Gary?
No, those are only comments, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Vesna
No questions. Chairman.
and Corey?
Yeah, just a quick comment, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a great project. They've done a great job with this. It looks great over there. But to echo Mr. Perrin's concerns, the hours of illumination, I'd be happy with midnight, with the change of the seasons, and let's help these businesses out at the same time. That Blockbuster sign is around the corner off Bridge Street, but it's directly, Bank North is directly across the street, so I don't see an issue there as the sign is presented. So I do support it with the hours of illumination. We can make it at midnight if the board's comfortable with that. Thank you.
And Rick, anything?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we have a proposed condition, the hours of illumination until midnight, no later than midnight. Is that acceptable, sir?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Need a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to approve with the following conditions, that the hours of illumination do not exceed midnight, and this decision is excluding Walgreens, right, Mr. Would you make a?
That's true, yeah.
This decision exclude Walgreens. Thank you.
Second the motion.
And I need a roll call.
Mr. Noon?
Approve with condition.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved with conditions.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Gary?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Perrin?
Just need these two.
Approve with conditions.
Okay, sir, you've been unanimously approved with the condition. I just need to come up and just sign these three signs and give those to Aaron, if you could, just sign and date it. Today is the 13th of October. Thank you. Yeah, and we're gonna, yeah, I need a motion. Continue to the, sir, how long would you need for the Walgreens? November 8th?
I make a motion to continue the Walgreens request to November 8th, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second the motion.
And I need a roll call on that, Aaron, please.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Gary?
Approved to November 8th.
Mr. Perrin?
Approved to November 8th.
Mr. Nguyen?
Continue to November 8th.
Okay, sir, the matter regarding the sign at Walgreens has been continued to November 8th. There'll be no further notification from this board, but you are required to re-notify the abutters in that property. The additional abutters, yep. Okay, any further business?
No, there's not, Mr. Chairman, so I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.